Good morning. Today we are going to be taking some notes on primary succession. Yesterday we went over these in a PowerPoint, so today we're going to kind of label a diagram with some of the main points that we talked about. So I just want to remind you guys that primary succession involves changes that happen over time, right? That's the succession part. Changes that happen over time. The primary part is just like when you're in primary school. That is the first colonization. The first time that plants are going to grow in a particular area. Okay. So we're going to color code today. So we're going to start out with gray. I'm going to use black for my writing. To start out at the very beginning of our diagram, if we look at the bottom down here, we can see that it starts with bare rock, just like we talked about yesterday. And so this is where primary succession begins. Okay, it begins here. Most plants cannot survive on bare rock. So it takes quite a bit of time, right? We're going to come down here and we are going to shade our boxes gray, this box gray, for our first step because rock is a lot of the times gray. And we're going to shade our rock here as well. Now if you notice, the rock kind of goes all the way across. So we're going to shade it all the way across to the end of our diagram to show that that bedrock is there. Now that bare rock, a lot of things can't grow on it, but it's still getting weathered from wind and water, maybe ice, right? And so over time, we start to see some pioneer species. And pioneer species that we often see with primary succession are mosses and lichens. I know it looks like lichens, but it's really lichens. And what they do is they start to dissolve the rock. So slowly over time, other plants, because there's soil being created, not just by weathering and wind and water weathering, but by the weathering of these mosses and lichens dissolving that rock, right? These plants also die and they're added to the soil, right? Kind of like composting. Okay, that's an eye. So, pioneer species like mosses and lichens are going to dissolve the rock. Therefore, that soil is created by dissolving and the decomposition of the mosses and lichens that live there. So we're going to use red for this. And we're going to just color our mosses and lichens red so that we really can see them pop. Okay, and if you'd like to go in and color your rock, you can do that as well. All right, after the mosses and lichens live on these rocks for years, sometimes centuries or longer, we start to see some small plants take root. So I'm going to use yellow for this one. So once the soil is created, small plants can take root in that soil, because the more soil, the larger the plants that can live there. Dead plants will decay, right? They're going to decompose and add to the soil layer. So the soil layer is going to get thicker and thicker as we go through each of these steps. Also, the habitat for small animals like insects is created. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. It's my yellow. I'm going to color my little grasses and flowers yellow so that I know that those go with this step in succession for primary succession. Little grasses. All the things that are able to start moving into that area. And I am going to shade my little boxes up here. Remember, color helps us remember things, so we're adding this color to help us remember each of these steps in succession. Okay, so after we get some of these grasses and annual flowers means that they die every year and they put out seeds, and those new seeds grow into new plants. Shrubs are not annual. They don't die every year. They're what we call perennial, right? And so they need a larger soil base. You guys see how the soil base is getting thicker the farther up we go, right? Small amount of soil here for these grasses and flowers, a larger amount of soil for these shrubs. It's all about the soil formation. So I'm going to use purple for my shrubs. These are small shrubs, bushes, and trees can start to grow as the soil gets deeper. All right. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to color my little shrub in purple to help me remember that these move in and start to produce larger plants than just grasses and wildflowers. And as these shrubs grow and die as well, they too are going to add to the soil base. Okay, so I'm going to shade my box up top. And maybe a little bit here too. All right, so as our soil gets deeper, remember we said as the soil gets deeper, then we're going to have larger and larger plants. So then we come this direction, and I'm going to use a light green to talk about my softwood trees. Softwood trees are trees like evergreens, like pine and juniper, cedar. These can move into an area that's starting to get a lot of soil, right? Do you see how deep the soil base is here? And so these softwood trees are going to give homes to lots of animals as well as plants, right? And so you're going to see larger animals be able to move into an area that has a bigger population of softwood trees like evergreens, right? So we're going to see animals living in these evergreens. right? Because they have somewhere to hide, they have somewhere to build their nest, they have somewhere to take care of them, and all the while, remember that soil is still being added to. The soil is still growing. And eventually, we're going to see, I'm going to switch to a dark green here, these hardwood trees. Hardwood trees are trees like oak, maple, birch. These are all trees that are going to change colors in the fall. And so we can color them in green. And these are going to provide even more because they're going to give off acorns or seeds for animals like deer or elk to eat. And so this is going to create a food source for different animals and a home for more animals. So once we get to this stage, this is our climax community. This is that balanced and stable ecosystem, right? Climax community is balanced and stable. Now I do want to go in with a brown and shade in our dirt, our soil bank, so that you can remember that the soil grows, and as the soil grows, the plants are able to be taller and taller. Right, so this soil formation is really important when we're talking about primary succession. Okay? All right, so we're going to stop here for today, and tomorrow we will go over some more specifics about secondary succession. I hope that this kind of gave you a visual to help you wrap your head around the information we went over yesterday, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.